evening all. We
Hello.
are live at last.
It's not live on YouTube. I ain't seeing
Yeah,
it.
it's on a different. I'd start a new stream up because it was being a bit. It's being a bit of a big girl. So we are
Hang on.
actually.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, we're live.
I just right quickly mute that. Yeah. Oh, and zero in the chat. That's nice.
Yeah, a bit quiet tonight. I don't know why.
I think that's that end of year, start of year, end of year blues, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
There was only two people on Brutus's stream the other night, weren't they?
Oh,
No one
was there?
wanted to go.
That's because
No one wanted to
Bruce
go
has
on.
upset everyone, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well,
That's,
yeah. Yeah. That upset me.
he don't upset
I'm
me
really,
either.
I'm really enjoying his shenanigans. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
If you do like watching the different people make the same mistakes, then if you want to watch the same man making the same mistakes all the time, go see Brutus's channel. You'll have some fun. We got 2 live viewers now, according to YouTube.
I've got 5 according to me.
Oh, nice. So we're
Oh, one's dropped out. Oh god.
we got 4.
Oh, we got 3. Oh no,
We got
it's gone
3.
down.
Oh,
We ain't
blimey,
started yet.
Is it literally because we mentioned Brutus? Is that what it is?
Oh god, yeah.
We won't mention Brutus
one's
anymore.
come back, yeah.
Just stick with us.
No,
Right. So
this is a friendly serial killer show.
Yeah. We just we don't want to talk about anybody else. We're just gonna dab on the Ripper. Dangerfield's on. I see we're clashing.
Oh, I don't know him.
What's he doing at this early? He lives in fucking Vietnam, doesn't he?
I don't know. I don't know him.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I did a
They're
stream.
rivals.
I did the big fat quiz of the year with Washed and Dangerfield the other night. Yeah,
I was trying to find
everyone's watching Dangerfield, but they're in our chat. Watch him later. This is the big show, boys. There we go. We're picking up now. We've got 8 viewers now.
Bloody hell! I forgot what I was going to say now.
Yorkshire Ripper.
Yeah, the good old Ripper.
Good old Pete.
The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, it's like
Pete, the man who Jimmy Savile was too much for.
yeah.
That was
Slagged off Jimmy Savile.
Are we going to start? It looks like we're starting at the end. Looks like we're starting the end. So let's talk about that bit because that did make me laugh. So what happened? Can you remember what actually happened at the time? Because Jimmy Savile died, didn't he? And then somebody went to the Ripper for.
Yeah, I think they
For a quote,
sniffed out a good story, didn't they? Yeah, and he just went off on one, didn't he? I think he was moaning about everything, weren't he? Moaning about his food and sort of like they wouldn't give him an operation because he was too fat. And that.
and then he disavowed Jimmy Savile, didn't he?
Yeah, that's just insane, isn't it? As if he's got like a platform to sort of slag anyone off. Like it's just like ridiculous, isn't it? That bloody insane photo.
I may beat up possibly prostitutes, possibly regular housewives with a claw hammer, but at least I don't fuck kids. I think that was.
Yeah. Well, that's it. He didn't touch kids. That's one thing in his favour, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh dear. It's just the way these people think, don't they?
I can't get over that insane photo of him when he's shaking hands with him and Frank Bruno. That's just such a bizarre,
Have you got that picture? I'll stick it up.
Oh god, that's just. I've got to get Telegram open. It's just such a cognitive dissonance creator, isn't it? It's just like, where's it gone? There it is. Yeah, hang on.
Oh, I think I found it.
That's just, you talk about sort of mind control, like sending subliminal signals out. I mean, it's not really a subliminal. That's just like in your face, isn't it? It's
that's
just
subliminal.
Like we are all.
That's not a subliminal. That's subliminal, isn't it?
Yeah. That's just so like we're all fucking insane. and it's just like crazy.
That's a nice bit of boob Sutcliffe's going, bit of side boob there, isn't it, from the Ripper?
He's got a bit of the old shell suit going on. I just can't go over that photo. That's just fucking insane.
That fucking hair. What's that all about? Is he been touched by the brush? I believe this is the phrase. Isn't it?
Sort of like... But look at Savile's expression. It's like, yes, I know stuff. You know, it's like, oh my god.
I'm just flicking through the Google image gallery, and there's like Bruno shaking hands with Prince Charles, and there's Savile in the background.
Yeah, he's always there, isn't he? Like a little demon, isn't he? He sort of like gets everywhere, doesn't he?
Little imp.
He's just. But oh god, well, if he did like shag all these like teenagers, you'd think they'd have a bit more taste, wouldn't you? Like, I mean, they could have gone for like the Bay City Rollers or somewhere, but they chose him as instead. God knows what's going on.
Listen, so should we get back to the man himself, shall we?
Peter Sutcliffe, now known as Peter Coonan.
Peter William Sutcliffe, known as Peter William Coonan. Because no one will know who he is if he changes his surname, will he?
I wonder why. It's quite a strange name, isn't it? Coonan. Yeah. I don't know.
I know, he looks like a bit of a Coonan, doesn't he? That curly hair.
The thing is, he looks sort of like normal, or like before he was arrested. Like, or he just looks like a 70s geezer, doesn't he, with sideburns and that. He looks like quite a nice sort of chap, doesn't he? You'd want to go down the pub for a few beers with him. He's probably a good laugh.
I don't know, to be fair, he does look like someone who should work in a kebab shop or something, doesn't he? He looks a bit kebab shop worker, doesn't he? If he had worked in a kebab shop instead of HGV, do you reckon there'd have still been kiddies in the kebabs?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I don't know.
There he is, the man himself. I've just put him up. Handsome, debonair.
Oh God.
Has Clawhammer will travel.
Because he was oh God, yeah. I wouldn't want him babysitting my kids if I had any. No, I was sort of like, hello.
You wouldn't trust him to walk the missus home, would you?
Oh God. He's probably good for a bit of DIY, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know.
Are you saying he's got the Fred West phenotype? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's handy with a hammer, isn't he? No,
sitcom waiting to happen. Him and Fred doing DIY.
Oh God, yeah.
It'd be like Benny Hill, only some like scantily clad woman walks in, and then they both batter her to death with a hammer.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
and then hilarity ensues while they're trying to bury her under the patio.
There's sort of a few speeded up bits. Yeah. Now, come to think of it, he was always a nutcase, Peter Sutcliffe. Yeah. According to the books and that, when he was a child, he was fascinated with sexually transmitted diseases and how they caused pain and misery to their sufferers. That's a bit unusual for a kid.
So you saying he's like an olden day Garot? Is that what he's?
I don't know. Apparently, he used to sort of spend hours in his local wax museum, because they had like these wax museum pieces of like sexually transmitted diseases, and he'd go there and stare at them as a child. Yeah, pretty sort of odd.
That's our Pete. That's our Pete. He is a bit odd, isn't he? So from what they say, he was brought up by like a relatively normal family. I mean, he's not anything like Ted with like Ted Bundy or I'm trying to think who his peers would be in the serial killing world, or Charles Manson or something. He wasn't like brought up by a prostitute or a woman pretending to be his sister or anything like that.
No, I think I saw probably quite a rough upbringing, but I suppose everyone had it rough, didn't they, in the 70s up north? So
yeah,
but no, he had a proper mum and dad and that.
Had to walk to
just
whip
sort
it.
Just sort of like. But it's just like a. I mean, because there's a definite line there, isn't there? I mean, there's a line that most of us don't cross, isn't it? Like killing people with hammers and that. And,
Or
yeah,
killing
there's a
people in
definite
general.
line there.
Generally, we
Yeah,
only do the one if we're going to murder someone. We don't do a series of them.
Even sort of poking them with sharp sticks, even. I mean, but that line, some people do jump right over, don't they? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like it's baffling, isn't it?
Because, well, from what I've read about serial killers, it's some sort of like mixed up. Because it tends to happen around puberty, the first murder, doesn't it? So at some point during the murder, they pop a boner, and then that's the only way they can pop a boner. Then, isn't it? It's like the layman's terms for how it seems to work, doesn't it?
All the psychologists, they say like they do it because they like the power over the victim, but I think there's more to it than that. I think there's just something sort of. I don't want to go into sort of demonic possession, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that's behind some of them. Because there was that case.
Some of them they get arrested and they're completely different, aren't they?
Yeah, that's like something's gone from them, isn't it? Like a shell, just like an empty shell, sort of sitting
Well,
there.
if you look at like probably another one of his peers in the serial killing world, Ed Kemper. Have you seen much about Ed? Do you know much about Ed Kemper?
Yeah,
the co-ed killer. He was like. From all accounts, he's like a really nice, intelligent, erudite man. Apart from the whole cutting birds' heads off and shagging the head thing that he used to engage in. But I think his was like a displacement killing, though, wasn't it? Because he killed his mother, and then that was it. Like his murder thing was gone, wasn't it?
Yeah. He gave himself up after that, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, that was it.
Or left loads of clues, like obvious clues, so he'd get like nicked. Yeah.
Well, what happened was he used to hang about with coppers, didn't he? And so that's how he got his insights into how the investigation was going and how he wasn't going to get caught.
Yeah.
But the problem was because he was friends with coppers, he had a hell of a job giving himself up because they wouldn't believe him because he was Ed, their mate.
Yeah. Yeah, they're clever buggers. Yeah, some of them. Yeah. I think it's probably comes down to there's three things. I think there's people who are just like they're just simply sick in their head, like they're just like bad seeds. And I think other ones of them are like MK Ultra mind control victims who've actually been programmed to kill. And I suppose there's a few on the very outskirts who are possessed by sort of like bloodlust demons or something. Yeah.
You know, you get like the spree killers and things like that, don't you? They're like the one-off jobs that just go on a rampage, don't you?
Oh. And just didn't do it for years afterwards. Yeah, because there was that guy William Hughes in 1977 when he's been escorted to prison by two coppers in a taxi for some reason, and he stabbed them both in the neck. And then he escaped to this cottage where he just like, for no apparent reason, he just like cold-bloodedly murdered like 3 generations of this family, like 3 adults and 1 child, like with a knife, just for sort of no sort of reason whatsoever. And the police finally surrounded him and like shot him in the head and in the body. But he was still fighting the officers, and he still attempted to kill his other hostage from the same family with an axe, kind of. And it took like another bullet to actually kill him. So, he's been shot in the head.
We spoke. Was it last week? We spoke about Mark Chapman. And Mark Chapman just sat down on the curb, didn't he? After he killed Lennon.
But I mean, this guy. I mean, looks like he was possessed by something. It's just sort of just odd.
Well, so Sutcliffe was born in Bingley in the West Riding of Yorkshire to a working-class family. He was given a Catholic upbringing like his parents. John William Sutcliffe and his wife Kathleen Frances née Coonan. That's weird, isn't it? Because her married name is her name Kathleen Frances Coonan or Catherine?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know if that changes if the husband
they worded
changes.
that in a really weird way. Reported a loner, he left school age 15, but that wasn't really that uncommon. Leaving 15 at that year.
Nah.
He was probably a late bloomer, weren't he? Leaving at 15 back then. He had 2 stints as a gravedigger. Do you think the grave digging is actually that important, or do you think that it's just like they're trying to make the story?
I think maybe the whole thing came in because he did claim that he heard voices from graves, didn't he? In that,
Yeah, but Fred West came out with all that garbage about the ghosts of people he'd killed were talking to him and stuff like that. You don't know whether.
oh
It's...
God, I didn't. I
Have you
didn't know
heard any of
about
the
that.
wacky stuff that Fred used to get? Fred used to get up to. Have you not heard that stuff from Fred?
Nah. Well, after he was arrested. Like...
Yeah, while he's being questioned, he starts talking about ghosts and stuff like that. We'll have to talk. We might have to talk about Fred at some point, but yeah, you look into that, and then we'll kind of discuss it on a later episode or something. But yeah, he said how he knew where all the bodies were because the ghosts like hovered above, and they used to come and talk to him and stuff like that. That's really weird. That part of like Fred's, but I don't know whether you don't know whether it's truly weird or whether he's because Fred had quite a big brain injury, didn't he? Because that's quite a common thing for serial killers. They usually get the frontal lobe damage, don't they?
Yeah.
Because Fred West, he fell down a metal staircase and he also had a motorbike accident, didn't he?
I don't know, I just find it really funny. I don't know why. Because he had that black magic bar, didn't he, in his house? He called it the black magic bar, didn't he? Where he'd like get the people to shag his wife, didn't he?
Well, I think it might have been the black magic because he liked watching big black men fuck his missus, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe that's why he called it that. Yeah, rather than Dennis Wheatley stuff. But, yeah. But you know, I think he had it all wired up.
Does Fred look like a big reader to you?
Yeah, I suppose.
I can't imagine him wading through the OTO manual. Can you?
But he had the house wired for sound and that, didn't he? So maybe there was some snuff videos going on. I don't know.
Because they're quite desperate. I watched a documentary about snuff, and they're really desperate to make out that it doesn't happen, aren't they?
Ooh. I think it's been going on since film was invented. I think people will pay big money for it, wouldn't they?
I should imagine the price has gone down now, though, haven't you? 'Cause you've got Live Leak and World Star Hip Hop and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah, you can. I've seen like pretty much snuff stuff on YouTube like a few years ago.
Oh, you can see worse. You can see worse than that can't you?
Sort of Warzone stuff. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much snuff.
Warzone, Chinese traffic accidents are bad enough, and because you know the Chinese, if they run someone over, they're liable for them for the rest of their life. That's why they reverse over them.
Fucking hell, yeah. God. But no, I think something like sort of odd happened to Sutcliffe, when he was a gravedigger, because he used to steal stuff from the bodies, didn't he? That he was burying, and that sort of once people start doing that, I think that's not too far away from sort of necrophilia. I think.
So you've got that. So you used to work there. You also used to work in a television factory, which is kind of odd, isn't it?
I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, he worked at so he was a gravedigger in the 60s. Between November 71 and April 73, Sutcliffe worked at the Baird Television Factory. And it's called the Baird Television Factory because I think it's something to do with John Logie Baird.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Because that must be a weird place to work if there's all sort of like weird television signals and that going on. Maybe like higher strength signals when they're testing them or something. Maybe that's where the voices came from, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The CRT, the CRT. So after
he had a voice. He had the voice from God calling him from the grave, didn't he? Like instructing him to go on his mission to kill. To be fair,
James Anderton had that as well, though, didn't he? And he was a police commissioner. Yeah. Wasn't that stuff for James Anderton and God? He was a right nutter, weren't he?
Yeah, God. Puritan, weren't he? New Puritan.
Yeah.
Christ. I sort of like him in a way. But...
We used to have such great personalities in the 80s, didn't we? Like people like James Anderton running the police.
Yeah, they're all like bloody nobodies now, aren't they? Just non-entities.
Yeah. So even the serial killers aren't that interesting. That crossbow cannibal's like quite boring, isn't he? He just wanted to be famous. He didn't like. He didn't have any talent. Did he? He didn't have any talent like Peter Sutcliffe.
He was just like a copycat, weren't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe like when Sutcliffe was doing all this sort of like grave digging that. Maybe that's how he got in contact with Savile. Maybe if there is this like weird cult of necrophiles, it's possible he could have been invited to some party or something.
Well, I don't know much about the geography of Yorkshire, but Sutcliffe was born in Bingley. Apparently, I don't know much about where Savile grew up or anything like that. I know it was like Leeds, wasn't it?
Leeds, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Leeds is an interesting place, though. There's lots of odd sort of buildings, lots of weird symbolism in Leeds.
Leeds Castle's really interesting. It's not even in Leeds, is it?
I've never been there, but no, I've seen. There was a good blog I used to.
Yeah, there's a place called Leeds Castle. It's not even in Leeds. I can't even remember where it is, but it's like hundreds and thousands of miles away from Leeds.
So maybe that must have been like I don't know. I think something was going on then, but something got him, didn't it? Something tipped him over the edge, but. Because he was married with a lovely wife. Like, why would you go and...
Well, he doesn't seem to have... what's the trifecta? Trifecta's like an overpowering mother, which he doesn't seem to have. It's the head injury as well, isn't it? Which damages the frontal lobe, which is another one of the serial killer things. Like rough childhood, bedwetting. There doesn't seem to be any of that, does there? He just seems to have become a serial killer out of thin air, doesn't he?
Unless he's one of these like MK Ultra sort of people, like I don't know, because that did go on. I was reading on that Graham, what's his name? Graham Hancock's forum. Some blokes posted like a list of all the MK Ultra sites, and they're not all in America. You know, some of them were in England, like in the 70s and that. So I mean, it's a bit of a speculation, but it's certainly possible. It's like you say, it just seemed to have came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Because normally it's very it's you know, it's kind of plain that these people are going to turn out to be a bad one. Like Fred had he had that fucked up relationship with his mother. He had the fall down the metal staircase and a motorbike accident. And you know, like he was like he was pretty much like bound to be a serial. It was like the odds were larger on him not being a serial killer, weren't they?
Because with Sutcliffe, that seemed to have all started with these voices of God that came from these graves, and I mean that makes me suspicious because that's how they do these things, isn't it? They like broadcast voices from the TV and that. I mean. I don't want to compare David Icke to Peter Sutcliffe, but that's how David Icke started, wasn't it? He was hearing voices and that. And I think that's how they do it. That's how they program people, you know, like just get some voice. I mean, it's never really happened to me. It happened a few times, but that wasn't like the government doing it. But yeah, because a lot of people hear voices. It's just people don't talk about it, do they? But if it's like sustained by some sort of technological means, I mean, I'm sure that could like unbalance someone, or if they genuinely believe it's God talking to them, or which he seems to have done, then away he goes.
Just having he works at another place called Anderson International, but I can't see anything about who they are or what they do. Which is where he took. He had a £400 payoff. He got made redundant, which is when he went to train as the lovable rogue HGV driver that we all know him as.
Yeah, it's like handy for him, weren't it?
Yeah.
Good alibi, weren't it? Yeah.
So on the 5th of March 1976, he was dismissed for the theft of used tyres. Then he was unemployed till October 76 when he found a job as an HGV driver for T and WH Clark Holdings Limited on the Canal Road Industrial Estate in Bradford.
No, they weren't too fussy then. Yeah, they took on. Yeah.
Don't mind a man who's nicked tyres.
Why would you steal used tyres though?
It's a weird thing to steal, isn't it?
Maybe they weren't that worn or something. Maybe they were just under the limit.
Must have been part worn or something, mustn't they? Sutcliffe Sutcliffe, by some reports, used prostitutes as a young man, and it's been speculated he had a bad experience. But obviously, none of this is. You've read more books on him than I have. Have you kind of found it? Have you ever got to the bottom of what kicked him off?
I think, well, personally, I think that was the government, the secret government beaming messages into his head. I think, because I don't know, it's just like there's that Ripper archetype, isn't it? There's what dates back to Jack the Ripper. I mean, if you read like Stephen Knight's book, Jack the Ripper: The Final Solution, I know a lot of people have poo-pooed it.
You can't call it that.
That seems
call
like
it the final
pretty
solution.
Well, that's 1976 when it was first published. And I think he makes a good case of the Masonic stuff, like because like a few of the women were killed in like Masonically significant places, like Mitre Square and that. And the last victim, she was actually in police custody.
Well, Mitre Square is 2 in 1, isn't it?
Yeah, but the last victim, Mary Kelly, she was actually in police custody. And for some, I think they picked her up for soliciting or something, and they let her out, and then she was killed like an hour later.
That reminds me, if I can just sidebar for a minute, the Alan Moore book From Hell, is that actually based on anything? Because they theorised that Mary Kelly was actually pregnant with a royal child, and that's why they were killing the prostitutes, don't they? Is that actually based on anybody's theory? Is it?
That's based on that Stephen Knight book I just mentioned. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The sort of Masonic royals thing. Yeah. Mary Kelly was apparently pregnant with that, I forget his name, Prince Albert, I think, a sort of slightly crazy sort of royal. Yeah. And that's why they killed her, because she was like threatening to like go to the press and that. Yeah. And all these the Jack the Ripper murders, they were killed according to, I don't want to like downbeat Masons because I quite like Freemasonry, but those Ripper victims were killed according to Masonic ritual, you know, with their entrails pulled out and slung over their left shoulder or whatever it is. One of them had a triangular skin cut out in there. That's pretty fucking weird stuff. Like, I think they know who did it. I think
this is quite interesting. So, carry on. Finish your point on the Ripper, and then we'll
the
get back
powers that be. I think they know who Jack the Ripper is. They're just not telling us. You know, I think they know who did it. Like, but they're just not telling us, sort of thing.
Yeah, because there really seems to be something missing in this whole thing, isn't there? So anyway, Sutcliffe met Sonia Zerzma, I can't pronounce that, on the 14th of February 1967. They married on the 10th of August 74. She suffered several miscarriages, and they were informed that she would not be able to have children. She resumed a teacher training course, during which time she had an affair with an ice cream van driver. When she completed the course in 77, she began teaching. She and Sutcliffe used their salary to buy a house in Heaton, Bradford, which they moved into in the 26th of September 1977, where they lived at the time of Sutcliffe's arrest. I also found here, while I was having a look, Sonia married Peter in 1974, 2 years after she began treatment for schizophrenia. Her relationship with her husband was later characterised by reporter Gordon Byrne as domineering, with Sonia willing to slap Peter down like a naughty schoolboy. When Pete was arrested for murder of multiple women, Sonia remained married to him and continues to live in the family home. They eventually divorced in 1994. Barbara Jones, a journalist who had many conversations with Sonia, described her as the most irritating, strangest and coldest person I've ever met. Yeah. She's so incredibly prickly and demanding. So,
actually,
I
forgot all about that. Yeah, I forgot all about that angle. Yeah. She was a bit of a nutter. Yeah.
So could this, you know, being a henpecked husband, could this have set him off?
Yeah. But like the books I've read, they play that down. They said like she was treated for mild schizophrenia, and then she was sort of all right, just a bit withdrawn. They didn't mention all the sort of prickly stuff and henpecking. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's come out since then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I always wonder what role the women have in these things, because then they generally know about it. I don't think a woman can have a serial killer as a husband and not know.
Nah. Let's things like Fred and Rose West and Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. I just think, well, how do they sort of get together? Is there some sort of like serial killer dating site or something, because they just sort of like seem to attract each other, didn't they? And sort of just turn into monsters
I don't know.
together.
Could it be something more like kind of like you know how like men who beat women can always sniff out a victim, can't they? It's
Yeah,
like a kind of like predatory like shark type sense, isn't it? They have like a sixth
yeah,
sense for maybe it's a similar sort of thing, or they know or you know one dominates the other. Maybe that's what it is, and the other person does whatever they're told.
yeah. So it's probably more that in it, but
Mm.
but again, the killer one, the killer women, they do go along with it, don't they? So yeah, maybe is it half and half? Maybe they sniff each
Well,
other
Fred,
out and
Fred
think.
didn't Fred try to take the blame for the lot, didn't he? With
Mm.
Fred and Woke, Fred tried to take the blame for the lot, didn't he?
And apparently that was her who was doing it, wasn't it? That was Rose who was
Some of the
behind it all.
murders could
Yeah.
only have been committed by her, couldn't they?
Blimey, yeah. God, that's so sick, isn't it? Like burying your children and your little mates under the cellar, and you're sort of living above them and
Yeah,
shagging like
cellar.
black blokes, shagging strange black blokes, like, and the bodies are under the cellar. Yeah, that's
Because
creepy
I reckon
stuff.
people were murdered in that. There was the secret room just off the bar, wasn't there?
Yeah, because they demolished the house, didn't they? And like, I just think, well, they demolished Fred and Rose's house, but I think like, well, where did all that rubble go? Did that go
Mm.
into building like new houses? And if you go with the stone tape theory, maybe like those stones are haunted, and if they've been put into like another house, I wouldn't want to live in it.
Yeah,
Ah, God.
maybe that explains. Do you remember you were saying that you couldn't quite understand why some council houses like have a ghost in them, even though they're a brand new house?
Yeah,
Maybe that goes some way to explaining that question of yours.
I think it could be. Yeah, I think it happens a lot. I'd love to know, like, I'd love to like get like the honest, like maybe they keep statistics. I don't know, councils, but I'd love to know like the honest facts of all that. Like, how many council houses are sort of haunted, or so bad that people have to move out and that. Because I bet there's more than we think. I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, with the Enfield haunting seems to come out of nowhere, didn't it? I mean, it weren't particularly old house, was it?
Yeah, it's just sort of like a pleasant sort of house, wasn't it? And then suddenly all this
Just
weird
mid
shit's
terrace,
going on.
mid terrace nondescript house, wasn't it? And then you had all
Yeah.
that going on in there.
I
I
wouldn't
think
want to come. I've never
I
come
wonder if there
across
have to,
that. I'd hate to.
I wonder if there actually has to be two pieces to the puzzle though. To get something like that. Do you need the right person with the right house to get that particular haunting come out of it?
I think it could be something sort of. I don't know about mundane, but I mean, like round here, like a lot of the mountains in North Wales, they've got a lot of quartz crystals in them, and like quartz crystals store energy and information, didn't they? So there could be something like that, just quartz crystals in the bricks, like that place in Yorkshire where those UFOs kept happening. Like, I can't remember where that guy was,
Hole's
where
quite.
that
Oh,
policeman.
you're not talking about Bempton, are you? Bempton, or are you talking about somewhere else?
No, no, that there's a town in Yorkshire where that copper saw that UFO and threw a brick at it.
I
What was his
don't,
name? I can't
I
think of
don't
it.
know that one.
No, that's a really famous one, isn't it? Oh, what's his name? I can't think. He was like alone in his patrol car in this Yorkshire town, and suddenly there's massive UFOs in front of him, and he got out and threw a brick at it, and then he like went weird, and then he had like hypnotic regression, and he says he was whisked off in a UFO, and you can see in his eyes like something really scary has happened to him. He's not making that up. Like, he's like haunted, his eyes. It's just terrified. But I can't think of his name now. But that's what I was saying. Like
Oh, hold
that.
on. Noble Wolf says it's Ilkley. PC Robert Young.
Nah, nah,
Oh,
nah. It weren't him.
Ilkley's Derbyshire anyway, isn't it?
Ilkley's got the swastika stone, isn't it?
Oh,
On the moors there. Yeah. I don't know if that's got anything
Ilkley's
to do with
Derbyshire,
it.
isn't it? Or is that Ilkeston?
There's I don't know where it is. I know there's the Ilkley elf, isn't there? Or the Ilkley gnome that's seen a lot.
Scuggy
Yeah.
Squidge says throwing bricks at aliens, true form of nationalism.
I just thought that's like a really sort of Yorkshire thing to do, like lob a brick at it. Like, it's just that's probably why they abducted him. It's probably like pissed him off or something.
Good
That's
job
what I was
we're
saying.
like predators. They didn't like, engage in some sort of like coming of age fucking right trying to slaughter him. Mind you, he'd probably put up a good fight if he weren't afraid to throw a brick on him.
I can't think of the bloody town. My mate lives there. I can't remember the bloody town, but that's why I mentioned it, because the houses in that town, they've got a lot of quartz crystal in the bricks and in the stone in the houses, and that's why all the weird stuff happens there, because there's been poltergeist stuff that goes on there. But Alan Godfrey, that's his name, PC Alan Godfrey. Yeah, it's worth watching his hypnotic regression tapes. They are on YouTube. Like, that's crazy.
So, should we go on to some attacks and murders? What old Pete's been up to? So, in '69, Sutcliffe assaulted a prostitute he'd met while searching for a woman who tricked him out of money. That sounds like another prostitute. He left his friend Trevor Birdsall's minivan and walked up St Paul's Road in Bradford until he was out of sight. When he returned, he was out of breath, as if he'd been running. He told Birdsall to drive off quickly. Sutcliffe said he had followed a prostitute into a garage and hit her over the head with a stone in a sock. According to his statement, Sutcliffe said, "I got out of the car, ran across the road and hit her. The force of the impact tore the toe off my sock and whatever was in it came out. I went back to the car and got in." So that's a bit different. That's a bit different to Ted Bundy's theory, isn't it? Did you ever heard that one? When Ted Bundy said that he said the first attack. He says you know where everything is, and you like you've planned it out to the last detail. And he says by the end you're getting on with it, and you're going, oh fuck, where'd I put the wrench?
Oh god, yeah, that's grim, isn't it?
I think the closest to him is Ted Bundy, I suppose, isn't it? He hasn't got the body count of Ted, has he? But he's a similar sort of character, isn't he?
That's what I was saying with his like Ripper archetype. I think there is like something that people, like certain men, like click into. It's just like Jack the Ripper, like killed 5 people, and that Ipswich Suffolk Ripper, he killed 5 people, and you get these numbers coming up, and it's Peter Sutcliffe kills 13, the scary 13 number. And I'm just not convinced that that's all coincidence when these numbers come up.
Oh, so I haven't finished that one. Some classic Ripper luck here. So the police visited his home the next day, as the woman he attacked had noted Birdsall's vehicle registration plate. Sutcliffe admitted he had hit her, but claimed it was with his hand. Police told him he was very lucky, as the woman did not want anything more to do in the incident, and she was a known prostitute, and her husband was serving a jail term for assault. So that's your first bit of like Yorkshire Ripper luck. I mean, this boy had the luck of the Irish, didn't he?
Yeah. God.
So that one was 67. So they reckon the first one was 69. So the next one they think is 75. But do you think it'd really be that long between attacks?
I reckon he done loads more that he hadn't admitted to. Like,
well, you think a lot of these people are prostitutes, so they wouldn't say even if you hadn't killed them. Surely, they're not like that first woman. They're not that willing to report it, are they?
Yeah, they wouldn't go to the police. I don't think. Nah.
Well, this is why these people pick prostitutes, don't they? Because
yeah,
on a podcast I listened to, the last podcast on the left, they talk about these people as being the less dead. So they're people who are likely to disappear or move on in the police's eyes anyway. The police are only going to half-arse a job at looking for these people, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they'll make like noises, wouldn't they, to the press and that? But no, they're just not. They just ain't got the manpower or the inclination, have they?
I think the latter is probably the main one they haven't got, really,
yeah.
isn't it? Because I'm sure you could probably find out something was going on quite easily, couldn't you?
Yeah. When I lived in Norwich, like I lived close to like the street where all the prostitutes used to hang out, and my mad mate, he'd like befriend them, and like he'd pay them for sex now and again, but he'd like befriend them, and they'd come round for cups of tea and that. And one night I was round there. One night I was outside with him, and we met a couple of them. And he said, like, "Oh, you coming back for a cup of tea?" And one of them said, like, "Oh, you're not going to rape us, are you?" And I thought, oh my God, to have that in your head, like, someone offers you a cup of tea and you got to think like, oh my God, they're not going to rape us, are they? Like,
yeah,
that's mental, isn't it? Like, Jesus.
It's like, I mean, imagine living. I mean, there's
having to think that stuff, like,
But I should imagine like prostitute death, although it's probably like more than your average person on the street. I shouldn't think it's probably It's probably not as common as you think it is. But the thing is, with all these high profile prostitute killers, you probably would think it's that, because that's all you see on the news, isn't it?
Yeah. That's good. That's a good story, isn't it? Like prostitute gets killed. That's like headlines, isn't it? Like people get that lurid kick out of reading it, don't I admit I do, or I used to. Not so much now, but in the news of the world, those lurid headlines. It's just people are interested in the dark side, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
I know I am. But,
Yeah.
I mean, half. I shouldn't say this on air, but I've had dark thoughts going through my mind. I'd never do anything like that, but it's not that I'm tempted to. It's just that that's possible to do, isn't it? Any man can do it, can't they? Or any woman, really.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's just a possibility, isn't it? Like an option, isn't it? It's just.
I mean, we're all a certain set of circumstances from being any of these people, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're that close at all, but it only seems to take a certain set of circumstances to create one of these people, doesn't it?
It's like sort of Clockwork Orange, isn't it? It's just like you see that guy in it, at Alex, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I remember when he opened that drawer, and he's got all those watches and all those wads of money that he's nicked.
Yeah.
And that's sort of tempting, isn't it? You think like, I thought like, God, yeah, because it's odd. Because I used to hang around. I was mutual acquaintances with sort of petty thieves when I lived around Norwich, and it's just such a strange thing, because like they'd be sitting around skin, and then they just say like, I'm just nipping out for a bit, and they'd nip out, and then they'd come back with like a computer or a sort of posh sort of phone or something. It's like 1 minute you're skin, and then you're not, because you've done sort of an
But they never
illegal
have any money though, do they? People like that. That's what like fascinates me the most about them. It's like they do all this stuff, and they probably don't actually have that much more money than someone who actually goes to work for a living. Do they? They don't seem to gain anything from it, do they?
But in a way, that is a kind of magic, isn't it? You're sort of like magicking up money and goods just by sort of taking it. Basically, or just nicking it. Isn't it?
Is it left-hand path?
That's crazy, isn't it?
The intention.
Yeah, it's pretty left-hand path.
Yeah.
That's just odd. Because the thing to do, I don't want. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm getting.
Just finish your point. Finish your point.
The thing to do, I'm not recommending it, but the thing to do is to nick something really small, which is worth loads of money, like a penny red stamp. You don't want to nick like a big computer, or you want to nick something tiny, don't you? Really, but
it's like I've thought about robbing a bank, but then I just don't see the upsides greater. The upsides aren't greater than the downsides, are they? That's
not really worth it, is it?
Yeah.
No. The best thing is to get someone to give you money. That's the best thing.
Ambush it, but notice.
Yeah, or just get a fan. I'd like a fan to sort of shower me with gifts and lots of money.
Get yourself a Patreon.
Well, people do, don't they? There are like those people, I can't think of their names. Are they patrons? Yeah, patronisers, patrons. Yeah.
Anglosaurus Rex says the big pub quiz would make great content for streams.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this Peter Sutcliffe in his cab. Yeah. He looks like a robot. He looks like one of those Doctor Who robots or something.
Who's that?
That photo when Peter Sutcliffe when he's in his lorry. There's that famous photo, isn't there? When he's just sitting there like a statue. Like he looks like one of those robots off what are they, Autons out of Doctor Who. Like
which ones are they?
They're like they're the shop dummies who come to life. They're like robots,
I remember that one. Yeah. There's something kind of off about him, isn't there?
Yeah, because he kept that card in his cab of his lorry, didn't they? And I've got it here. It says like he had this card that he wrote out, and he just kept it on show in his lorry, like a sort of weird positive affirmation. And that read, I quote, that says, "In this truck is a man whose latent genius, if unleashed, would rock the nation, whose dynamic energy would overpower those around him. Better let him sleep?" ? That's a bit of a weird
Weird, isn't
weird,
it?
like,
So
thing,
I don't.
innit?
What's the Ripper's IQ? Has anyone ever done? Because generally you kind of know a serial killer's IQ, don't you? But
I reckon that's sort of slightly higher than average, I suppose, because
so
he's sort of like he weren't like a PhD type guy, was he? But he was pretty sharp, weren't he? Sort of.
so next we go to 75. So that's the fifth of the seventh. Those numbers. 5 and 7, 13. 12. Oh no, it's 12, and it's not 13. It's 12.
All right.
1975.
12 months.
Yeah. So he attacked Anna Rogalski, who was walking alone, striking her unconscious. This is where the famous... He ain't quite got to the claw hammer yet. He's on a ball peen at the moment. Whacks her in the head with that, slashes her stomach with a knife. Disturbed by labour, he left without killing her. She survived, but after extensive medical intervention, but was psychologically traumatised by the attack. So then, in August 75, he attacked Olive Smelt. Same thing, struck her from behind, used the knife to slash her, this time above her buttocks. Again was interrupted, left his victim badly injured but alive. Smelt had mental health problems, clinical depression after that. 27th of August, that's 3 9s, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Attacked 14-year-old Tracy Brown in Silsden, struck her from behind, hit her on the head 5 times while she was walking along country lane. He ran off when he saw the lights of a passing car, leaving his victim requiring brain surgery. He was not convicted of the attack, but confessed to it in 1992. So, not a lot of actual murders, is there?
Nah, I just think of like women, you got to have more spatial awareness. Like if you're walking down a dark country road, you got to have that spatial awareness on the go at all times. Like, don't let some ripper creep up to you. Like, fucking hell. Anyway, what are they doing walking home, like on their own? Like, you know. Like,
well, you could back then, though, couldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. But people were still doing it when the Ripper was active, though, weren't they, in the area? And you know,
so
taxis.
The first victim.
Yeah, taxi. Fucking hell.
The first victim to die was Wilma McCann on the 30th of October. McCann from Scott Hall in Leeds was a mother of 4. He struck her twice with a hammer before stabbing her 15 times in the neck, chest, and abdomen. Extensive inquiry involving 150 police officers and 11,000 interviews failed to find the culprit. One of McCann's daughters died by suicide in 2007, reportedly after suffering years of depression over her mother's death.
That's the thing, isn't it? He's spreading the bloody disease, isn't he? Like the doom disease, yeah.
Yeah, so that's 30th of October. So January 76, he had a couple of, 2 months off?
Well, so they say. Maybe he was killing other people.
Yeah, I think like we say. I mean, he seems pretty... I don't know, though. He isn't finishing a lot of them off, though, is he? So he hasn't quite got the murder bug yet, has he?
Yeah, maybe he sort of... I know he got disturbed a few times, or maybe he didn't really want to go through with it, or I don't know. I don't know what it must feel like doing that. Yeah. Maybe he got a few pangs of guilt or something.
How about this one then? Sutcliffe committed the next murder in Leeds in January 1976 when he stabbed 42-year-old Emily Jackson 52 times. That's 4 13s. I wonder if that's...
He didn't seem to have much... didn't have no pangs of guilt for that one. Yeah. 52 weeks of the year, yeah. Well, he didn't have any pangs of guilt with that one, did he? No,
she was hooking for money. So he picked her up outside the pub, then drove about half a mile to some derelict buildings in a local industrial estate. Hit her on the head with a hammer, then dragged her body into a rubbish-strewn yard, and used a sharpened screwdriver to stab her in the neck, chest, and abdomen. Sutcliffe stamped on her thigh, leaving behind an impression of his boot. So next, he attacked 20-year-old Marcella Claxton in Roundhay Park, Leeds, on the 9th of May. Walking home from a party, she accepted the offer of a lift from Sutcliffe. 9's 3 3s, isn't it? 333.
Yeah. That's where Jimmy Savile had his flat, weren't it? Roundhay Park. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Suspicious, isn't it? Yeah.
So she accepted an offer of a lift from him. When she got out of the car to urinate, Sutcliffe hit her on her head from behind. Classy girl. She was left alive and testified against Sutcliffe at his trial. At the time of his attack, Claxton had been 4 months pregnant and subsequently suffered a miscarriage.
Fucking hell.
So, this is the weird thing. So that last one was the 9th of May 76. The next one is the 5th of February. Like we say, it just seems... It's not like these are following any kind of... It's like he has a bit of time off and then he does a load of attacks. I'd assume he was still attacking in the meantime.
I reckon he was, yeah. Maybe not like with a hammer. Maybe he was just like punching them or something, you know, or just sort of like knocking them about, unconscious or something.
Well, he must have wound up. There must be something in between the first attack with the hammer and then, wasn't there? And well, hitting that woman in the head with a sock with a rock in it.
Yeah, something must have triggered him. Yeah.
So 5th of February, Irene Richardson, a sex worker, bludgeoned her to death with a hammer. Once he was dead, he mutilated her corpse with a knife. So he's gone from stabbing them while they're alive to stabbing them while they're dead.
Yeah, he's up in his game, and he
Tire tracks left near the murder scene resulted in a long list of possible suspect vehicles. So another bit of Ripper luck there.
Yeah, God. He did have luck on his side, didn't he? I mean...
Yeah. 2 months later, 23rd of April, he killed Patricia Tina Atkinson, sex worker from Bradford, in her flat, so he's getting bolder, isn't he? Where police found a boot print on the bedclothes. 2 months later, on the 26th of June, he murdered 16-year-old Jane MacDonald in Chapeltown. She was not a sex worker, but some of the early ones I don't think were sex workers, were they?
She was the first non-prostitute, I think, weren't she, Jane MacDonald?
I don't know, weren't some of those earlier ones the ones that were attacked but didn't die?
Oh, actually, I think one or two was, think of it, yeah. But in his confession to the police, like, Sutcliffe said that, I've got it here, what is it? When I saw in the papers that MacDonald was so young and not a prostitute, I felt like someone inhuman.
But he nearly killed that 14-year-old earlier on, though, didn't he? The fucking sap.
But he says after
doesn't that count because he didn't kill her?
But he says like after
he's twisted anyway.
After he attacked MacDonald, he said like I felt inhuman and I realised that it was a devil driving me against my will and that I was a beast. Well, that's what he told cops later on. I mean, it might be a load of bollocks.
Don't you wonder sometimes whether these people do it for the book? If you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, once you're arrested for that, I mean, you could say anything, couldn't you? I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it, anymore? You could say like...
Once you've been caught, you're creating the narrative for the inevitable film, aren't you?
You might as well have a laugh or make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah,
demons
amp it up a bit. That's like Fred with the ghosts. You'll have to read it. You have to hear.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I got a few books on that case. Yeah, I haven't read them yet.
So Maureen Long, where is it? Sutcliffe seriously assaulted Maureen Long in Bradford in July. He was interrupted, left her for dead. Witness misidentified the make of his car, so more Ripper luck there. More than 300 police officers collected 12,500 statements, checked thousands of cars without success. 1st of October 1977, Sutcliffe murdered Jean Jordan. That's the other thing, isn't it? Weren't you saying about this, the alliteration?
What's that?
Jean Jordan.
Oh, that's the double initial, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think of that, yeah. I'll have to check them. Have you mentioned Irene Richardson?
Yes.
That was in 1977.
Yeah, that was the 5th of February.
Yeah.
Jean Jordan, so that's our first alliteration, isn't it? I wonder whether these are significant because of their alliterations. So she was from Manchester. He was the one. She was the one he left the £5 note on. You know, the traceable one.
Yeah.
So after hosting a family party at his new home, he returned to Wasteland behind Manchester's Southern Cemetery where he'd left the body to retrieve the note. Unable to find it, he mutilated Jordan's corpse and moved it.
God.
Oh, this is the one I forgot about. On the 9th of October, Jordan's body was discovered by local dairy worker and future actor Bruce Jones. Do you remember Les Battersby from Corrie?
Yeah.
He found the body, didn't he? They reckon that's what turned him into an alcoholic, don't they?
Yeah. Daddy's head in, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose it would. Yeah.
So he was searching for house bricks. I don't know what he was searching for house bricks for. I don't think he was building a house, was he?
God,
Maybe it's a local
maybe it's
scally. Maybe that's what it was.
you probably get a shitload of adrenaline dump doing stuff. Yeah, you probably do all sorts of weird stuff. I should think. But...
Yeah. No, Bruce Jones was looking for bricks. That's when he found the body.
Oh right, yeah. Oh right, yeah. In his greenhouse or his allotment, weren't it? Yeah.
Oh, was that what he was looking for? Yeah. So they traced the fiver was traced to branches of the Midland Bank in Shipley and Bingley, because I think is it Bingley where his firm was, wasn't it? So the police analysis of bank operations allowed them to narrow their field of inquiry to 8,000 employees who could have received it in their wage packet. Over 5,000 men, including Sutcliffe. So there you go. It's like how many? This is the first time they'd been before that.
I think he must have done, mustn't he? That was ongoing quite a while, wasn't it, that case? Yeah.
Yeah. So they found his alibi was credible because he was at that family party. Weeks of investigations into the origins of the five had led to nothing, leaving police officers frustrated. They kept an important clue, but then able to trace it to the actual firm or employee within the firm to which the note had been issued. So that's more Ripper luck, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a lucky bastard, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
God. I mean, I went as if the police were stupid. I mean, you know, they were like sharp blokes, weren't they? These old northern coppers, like. But no, they messed it up.
So here you go, another alliteration. So on the 14th of December, Sutcliffe attacked Marilyn Moore.
Ah, another double initial. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Tyre tracks found at the scene match those from an earlier attack. Police so where are we? We're up to 14th of December. So that's 14th of December 77. We're now going into 1978. So the police discontinued the search for the person who received the £5 note in January 1978. Although Sutcliffe was interviewed about it, he was not investigated further. He was contacted and disregarded by the Ripper squad on several further occasions. So that must be the first time they had him in then over the fiver.
Yeah.
So that month, Sutcliffe killed again. His victim was Yvonne Pearson, a 21-year-old prostitute from Bradford. Isn't 3 sevens? Didn't we find out that 3 sevens?
3 sevens is the number of the Great Whore of Babylon. Yeah, in the sort of OTO system. Yeah, it's the number of the sort of Great Whore of the Book of the Revelation. That's curious.
So he repeatedly bludgeoned her about the head with a ball-peen hammer, then jumped on her chest before stuffing horsehair into her mouth from a discarded sofa, under which he hid her body near Lum Lane. So where he left the body was an alliteration as well.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah,
her body.
Look at that.
Her body was not found until the 26th of March. So 10 days after he killed Helen Riker. 10 days later, so that was... Who's that? That's Yvonne Pearson. So 10 days later, he killed Helen Riker, an 18-year-old sex worker from Huddersfield. He struck her on the head 5 times as he exited his vehicle, before stripping most of the clothes from her body, although her bra and polo neck jumper were positioned above her breasts, before repeatedly stabbing her in the chest. Her body was found 3 days later beneath railway arches in the timber yard to which he'd driven her. Well, I suppose railway arches are Masonic, aren't they?
Archers are always odd, yeah. Masonic stuff, yeah. I can't think of it. I can't think of the name. Yeah, the Holy Royal Arch branch of Freemasonry. I'm not saying they're involved, but yeah, archers are quite curious structures.
So, on the 16th of May, Sutcliffe killed Vera Millward in attacking the car park of Manchester Royal Infirmary. There's nothing about that one. That's literally just the date and the murder. So, 4th of April. So, we're going to 1979 now. So we now go from May to April. There must have been something in between there. There can't have been. The amount he's doing, mustn't there?
He's just lost the plot, isn't he? He's just like going for it, isn't he? Because he must have thought he was invincible, mustn't he? Because he's not getting caught, is he, or anything?
Oh, no.
Really.
So 79 is when we come to where he starts having his real luck. So 4th of April 1979, Sutcliffe killed Josephine Whittaker, 19-year-old building society clerk, whom he attacked on Savile Park Moor. That name, Savile.
Oh, blimey, yeah.
Savile Park Moor in Halifax as she was walking home. Despite forensic evidence, police efforts were diverted for several months following the receipt of a taped message purporting to be from the murderer taunting Assistant Chief Constable George Oldfield. So what I shall do now is I shall play you.
Tape, yeah.
Yeah, I shall play you. Instead of talking about it, I shall. We'll have a little bit of a break, and I'll play you the Wearside Jack tape. Turn that down.
I'm Jack. I see you are still having no luck catching me. I have the greatest respect for you, George. But Lord, you are no nearer catching me now than 4 years ago when I started. I reckon your boys are letting you down, George. They can't be much good, can they? The only time they came near catching me was a few months back in Chapeltown when I was disturbed. I warned you in March that I'd strike again. Sorry it wasn't Bradford. I'm not quite sure when I'll strike again. But it will be definitely sometime this year. I'm not sure where. Maybe Manchester. I like it there. There's plenty of them knocking about. They never learn, do they, George? I bet you've warned them, but they never listen. Well, it's been nice chatting to you, George. Yours, Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. Yeah, that's
creepy,
weird. So
yeah.
he's referencing what you were saying earlier about Jack the Ripper, isn't he?
To be fair to the coppers, that sort of, sorry, what'd you say?
What's that? Sorry.
What'd you just say? I missed it.
Oh, sorry. I just said, like, he just mentioned Jack the Ripper. He called himself Jack the Ripper. He signed off Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. To be fair to the coppers, he is quite believable, isn't he? He sounds quite believable. I think
he's got a few. I think what it was that really put him off is the facts were right, weren't they?
And because he was sending letters as well, weren't he? I think there was stuff in there that sort of they didn't seem to realise how he knew some of the stuff in his letters, but yeah, because that was what happened in the Ripper case, wasn't it?
But he said he found it from pub rumour, and because I read a bit about Wearside Jack, he found it from pub rumour and reading papers, didn't he?
Yeah, you probably could find stuff like that. Yeah, a few coppers in the pub late at night, yeah, talking about it.
So I mean this is kind of one of his larger pieces of Ripper luck, isn't it? This is.
Yeah. God. I mean, that just like, yeah, I mean, he was free to carry on, weren't he? I mean, they're looking for someone who had a completely different accent to him. Like, it's crazy.
So, 1979, we're still in 1979. 1st of September, Sutcliffe murdered 20-year-old Barbara Leach, Bradford University student. Her body was dumped at the rear of 13 Ashgrove. That's what it says, Ashgrove. Must be the name of it, Ashgrove or something. Under a pile of bricks close to the university and a lodging. There's a lot of bricks involved in these, isn't there?
Bricks, Masonic, yeah. I don't want to sort of cast aspersions, but bricks are Masonic stuff.
It was his 16th attack. The murder of a woman who was not a sex worker again alarmed the public and prompted an expensive publicity campaign emphasising the Wearsides. The police were desperate, weren't they, to believe it was anybody except for the bloke they've already had him for questioning twice. God,
because you think that they apparently had loads of psychics working on the case, didn't they? You'd think they'd like tip them the sort of hints that Uta gave them, but they were all crap, weren't they?
Well, when we go into the woo-woo section after the facts, then you can tell us why the psychics were put up. Sutcliffe was interviewed on at least 2 other occasions in 1979. Despite matching several forensic clues and being on the list of 300 names in connection with the £500 note, £5 note, he was not strongly suspected. Sutcliffe was interviewed by police 9 times.
God, if I was a copper, I'd have sussed him. If I was a copper, I'd have sussed him there. But 9's the number of Satan, isn't it? 9's the Satan number.
Yeah. Being on the list of 300...
According to Anton Oivay. He says it in his book, doesn't he?
What's that?
Anton Ove or Anton LaVey.
Oh, Anton Ove.
He says,
oh,
like,
God.
9's the number of Satan. Yeah, I don't want to bring him up, God.
Oh, dear.
It's like...
Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. So it's like they've got this whole fucking list. I mean, of hundreds of thousands of people down to 300. You've got one man on there. It was caught who, because of what he gets up to and where he is. You've pulled him in twice, and you still don't suspect him.
Yeah, fucking hell. But was he being like helped by higher ups in the police to carry on for some weird reason?
Well, I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done with the facts. So I'll get done with the facts, and we'll go into
Got him. Yeah.
April 1980.
I got some woo-woo, yeah.
April 1980. Sutcliffe was arrested for drunk driving. While awaiting trial, he killed 2 more women. He murdered 47-year-old Marguerite Walls on the night of 20th August, and 20-year-old Jacqueline Hill, a student at Leeds University, on the night of 17th of November. Is that a significant number? 17? 1711 or?
17's Tarot Trump the Star, sort of connected with Sirius. That's all I can think of. But that's quite important.
Hill's body was found in the grounds of the Lupton residences. He attacked 3 other women who survived. Upia Bandara in Leeds on the 24th of September. Maureen Lee, known as Mo, an art student, attacked in the grounds of Leeds University. And 16-year-old Teresa Sykes attacked in Huddersfield on the night of 5th of November. Night of the Guy Fawkes night.
Yeah.
On the 25th of November, Trevor Birdsall, an associate of Sutcliffe, reported him to the police as a suspect, but the information vanished into the paperwork they had already accumulated. So that is... So all he did in 1980 was attacked 3-4 women? Attacked. Didn't murder anyone else, just attack them. I mean, don't serial killers normally get better at their trade?
I'd have thought so, yeah. Or maybe they sort of get sick of it, get tired of it.
Well, I know.
Maybe sort of guilt starts coming in.
Because I always wonder, they go into what's called the berserker phase when they just go absolutely fucking nuts, killing anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
I always wonder if that's kind of like a cry for help. They do it so much that they are going to fuck up. So, on the 22nd of January... Well, on the 22nd. On the 2nd of January 1981, Sutcliffe was stopped by the police with 24-year-old prostitute Olivia Reevers in the driveway of the Light Trades House in Melbourne Avenue, Broomhill, Sheffield. A police check by probationary constable Robert Hydes revealed his car had false number plates, and Sutcliffe was arrested and transferred to Dewsbury Police Station. At Dewsbury, he was questioned in relation to the Yorkshire Ripper case, as he matched many of the known physical characteristics. Next day, police returned to the scene of the arrest and discovered a knife, hammer and rope he had discovered when he had briefly slipped away from the police after telling them he was bursting for a pee. Sutcliffe hid a second knife in the toilet system at the police station when he was permitted to use the toilet, and the police obtained a search warrant for his home at 6 Garden Lane in Heaton, Bradford, and brought his wife in for questioning. So, let's go.
I think that's when they found his weird jumper, didn't they? His weird jumper pants when they arrested him as well, I think, didn't they?
So, I'll read this bit if you want. When Sutcliffe was stripped at the police station, he was wearing an inverted V-neck sweater under his trousers. The sleeves had been pulled over his legs and the V-neck exposed his genital area. Front of the elbows were padded to protect his knees, as presumably he knelt over his victims' corpses.
Have you got that interview?
How about this one then? I mean, another bit of protection he's got here. The sexual implications of this outfit were considered obvious, but it was not made public until the 2003 publication of the book Wicked Beyond Belief, The Hunt for the Yorkshire Ripper by Michael Bilton.
Yeah. Maybe that wasn't like a well-known thing for lorry drivers, was it, to have like a V-neck jumper down your trousers? I'd have thought they'd have sussed that out, but you just wear long johns, wouldn't you, or something?
Weird.
Do you want to play that? Have you finished with the normal stuff?
Yeah, let's finish with the normal stuff. Let's go into the weird.
Do you want to play that interview? Because I've got to fill up my glass. So
okay,
do you want to play that interview with him?
Give me two. Just bluff for about half a second. Peter Sutcliffe interview. Okay, I'll play this interview then. Oh, won't open the file. Sounds like you're peeing in that glass. Hold on, peeps. I'm gonna put this. That's not finished.
Well, she was nearly at the bottom. I said, "There's a kitten playing there," and Clump still kept coming down, you know. And she stepped on one, and all blood came out of its mouth, and she killed it, you know.
Was your gran talking to your head Was your gran talking to you in your head, or was it God?
No, it wasn't my grandma. No.
No.
No, I thought at the time it was God, you know.
Yeah. But what did he say?
Oh, all kinds of things, good advice and that, not to get down, and you weren't responsible for your grandma's death and that, and stop blaming yourself, you know.
Yeah.
But she died about a week after I'd shouted at her, you know.
Yeah.
I never raised my voice to her in my life, you know, but it was a shock when I saw her foot come down on the kitten.
Yeah.
And crush it, and
I
shouted, "Look, you've killed it," and that. "You've killed the kitten," I shouted at her, you know.
Yeah.
And she never recovered. Over a week or less than 2 weeks later, she died, you know.
Yeah.
No, I tried suicide once when I was outside, long before I was caught, you know.
Yeah.
Long before I'd actually taken anybody's life. I tried to drive my car off Alter Rock, where the Druids used to sacrifice people.
Oh, right, yeah.
In Bingley. There's a big steep rock, and there's all rocks at the bottom where they used to land on them, you know. And I drove my car. I was going to drive over the edge, but it got jammed on a rock sticking up out of the ground.
Yeah.
The car was rocking like a seesaw.
Right.
And I got out and trying to rev it up with my hand on the steering wheel to jump back in again. And it wouldn't grip. And in the end, it took me so long to free the car that I just forgot I just put it out of my mind what I was going to do.
Have you ever thought about it in jail? Or not? Have you ever thought it while you've been inside or anything like that?
No.
Yeah. What do you miss most about being free then?
Oh, I miss being able to, well, it's not the same now. You can't drive freely here. There's traffic jams and all that. I miss driving, and I miss seaside holidays.
Yeah.
Just the normal things, you know, stroking a dog.
I'm going to ask you something silly now. Do you miss sex then?
Yeah, I certainly do, yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Well, they've just knocked on the door, Hope.
Have they?
A quarter of an hour's up, darling.
All right, then.
Anyway, I'll speak to you again. I don't know when I...
Oh, that's it. Done.
God, that's mental, isn't it? Like, he tried to kill himself at that druid site in his car.
There's some proper rambling going on there, isn't
there? He tried to kill himself at that druid site. Like,
that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Like nuts, isn't it? Like,
didn't you find it kind of weird when he said, you know, I spent so much time freeing the car, I forgot what I was there for?
Yeah.
And then he caught himself, didn't he? He said, I forgot. And then he kind of caught himself, didn't he? It's almost like that's what actually happened.
It's like he goes to kill himself, and then he forgets that he's gone to kill himself. It's like fucking nuts, isn't it? I got a bit of woo-woo about his actual arrest with all these like names, because like the two arresting officers who nicked him in that car with the prostitute, both of their first names were Robert. Like they had the same first name,
yeah.
and their surnames was Ring and Hides. That, to me at least, that suggests like a collar, sort of to catch the evil personality, Mr. Hyde, isn't it, of Jekyll and Hyde. And that's a bit odd, isn't it? Both those coppers had the same name, first name, Robert, and then their surnames are Ring and Hyde. It's like they're throwing a ring round Mr. Hyde, isn't it? The evil Hyde of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And that prostitute who was in the car with him when he was finally arrested and caught, her name was Olivia Reivers, weren't it?
Yeah.
And a reiver is the Scottish term for a raider or a robber or a plunderer. So I think maybe that sort of consciously or unconsciously may have spurred the police to sort of persist with their suspicions and inquiries, kind of thing. Like, despite the fact that he didn't have that Wearside Jack accent. And I think that name stuck in their heads, and they thought sort of subconsciously like he's a wrong un, sort of like, I don't know, just curious.
Oh, so what is it? They're talking about the Sutcliffe said he heard voices that ordered him to kill prostitutes while working as a gravedigger. He said the voices originated from the headstone of a Polish man, Bronislaw Zapolski, and that the voices were that of God. That's the stuff. So I don't know. I'm never quite sure if I believe serial killers. I don't know whether they are actually psycho or whether they are psycho or whether they're just trying to either get the rep up or maybe they think it's easier doing time in Broadmoor.
Yeah, I think that's what they do it for, and it's a lot cushier doing it there. You get your own room in there, don't you?
I don't know. You have to be mates with Jimmy Savile if you go to Broadmoor.
Yeah. You could be mates with the Crays there. That'd be pretty cool. You could have like dinner with Reggie.
Only one of them went there, didn't they? The other one stayed in.
Yeah.
Regular.
The other one was supposedly schizophrenic. Yeah, but I'm not sure about that really. I mean, that might have been something like that.
Some of that could have been like prison doing it to him, because I think they spend a lot of time in solitary if they're a big name prisoner, don't they?
I mean, Ian Brady was like notorious for sort of bullshitting people, and all these stupid psychiatrists trying to get like his secrets and that. He just bullshitted them like all the time. Yeah, really sort of. So
what do you know about? Because we are going to bring Jimmy Savile into this one, and we're going to do the Moors murders next, aren't we? So how does because is it Jimmy Savile's the link between these two episodes?
I think so. Yeah. Well, now I've sort of forgotten, but I know that Irene Richardson, the Ripper victim in 1977, he left her body like very close to Savile's flat, like literally like, I don't know, that must have been about 500 yards away from his sort of front door. So, because they pulled him in, didn't they, and like checked his teeth, because the Ripper or Peter Sutcliffe bit a couple of his victims, and they took a cast of Savile's teeth and to check if that was him, because someone grassed him up or something, or someone gave his name to the police. Well,
knew it was a sex case, didn't they? So, because he wasn't really that powerful then, was he?
He was sort of like a bit of a Wayne and Star, weren't he? No one really sort of cared about
60s, him. 60s to 80s, I don't know, 60s to 80s. So earlier, I don't know when Thingy ran.
He had that Radio 1 show, didn't he? And what's its name? Jim
I was thinking it's like he was a big TV star then, wasn't he?
Jim will Fix It was sort of around the late 70s, I think, like the heyday of it. But it's just like Savile befriends Peter Sutcliffe when he's in Broadmoor, but was he mates like before Sutcliffe was even nicked? Like, I don't know. It's part of this like necrophilic cult or something, or this pervy sex thing, or this sort of violent sex cult, which I'm sure do exist. Kind of.
When did Savile die? I've just found an article. I just whacked into Google Jimmy Savile Ripper case. This is from the original article was the 4th of November 2012, and then it was updated on the 6th of April 2016. So this one says, you know Professor David Wilson, if you've seen a lot of crime programs, you'll know him. He's kind of like he's a psychologist talking head that usually narrates this.
Yeah.
So he actually believes that police should now investigate whether the hideous pair's sinister bond developed before Sutcliffe was caught.
Yeah.
So this was 2012 he was saying this. When did Savile die?
Not too long after that. It wasn't that long ago, was it? I think it was only like 2016, 2015.
Oh, maybe they updated it when he died then. So it says the family of Sutcliffe's first victim are demanding that cops question the killer, now 66, to find out if Savile was involved in any of the 13 Ripper murders or helped cover them up.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised. But then again, we hear all these like stuff about Savile, but are they true? Like, when he has like sex with corpses and steals their glass eyes and makes them into a ring that he wears on his finger. I mean, I don't know whether that's all just like crazy people coming forward, and just tell them fibs to get attention. I mean, it's a quite weird It's quite weird. You'd think like at least someone would have known what was going on back then. He worked at Broadmoor, but he had his own set of golden keys to it, didn't he, Savile?
I don't know if they were gold, but he definitely had his own set of keys, didn't he?
No, they were golden. He had a special golden set of keys made. Or I don't know if they were like solid gold, but they were like golden keys. Like they called him the Godfather of Broadmoor, didn't they?
Yeah, I think this was updated after he died. Obviously, everyone felt a bit more brave after Savile was dead. I mean, it's amazing the power Savile had, though, isn't it?
Oh, sure. You've got friends in high places, yeah.
So
Definitely.
right, so they're saying about this. So the coincidences between predatory paedophile Savile and serial killer Sutcliffe seem to be mounting daily. The other thing you read, the thing when you read about the Ripper is his MO is all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not as like all over the place as the Zodiac killer, is he? But his MO isn't standard, is it?
Or maybe that was him and Savile doing the killing.
Well, that's what I was moving towards. The fact that maybe his MO wasn't all over the place. It was more than one bloke. Maybe the Ripper was just into like hurting women, and maybe Savile was the murderers. Maybe something like that.
Yeah. Or maybe just another. If he was part of some cult or some group, yeah, they could have just like swapped it about a bit, couldn't they? Maybe Savile or Sutcliffe went along just to watch, maybe, and be the getaway driver or something weird like that. Or
yeah, it is.
Because we don't know what actually happened to the corpses. I mean, they could have shagged them and done all sorts of stuff. Black magic rituals with them. I mean. We don't know what actually went on. So.
The bricks might even be significant.
Yeah. And his sharpened screwdriver. That's a bit like wandy, isn't it? A bit wandish, kind of. I don't know. I just can't help thinking that. I know I'm naturally suspicious, but during that time in the 80s, there was something in the air of
I found the Daily Mail article about the DJ's teeth were checked.
Yeah, he was actually not arrested, but he was called in for questioning. Yeah, they took his teeth impressions, but because the whole of that 80s period was strange. There was a lot of like right-wing there was a lot of serial killer fanzines that were going around in the 80s. I remember reading some of them.
I found an image of Savile's flat and where that murder victim was found.
Yeah.
With it ringed.
That's pretty close, isn't it?
Stick it up. You look on Fireflux. If you look, I should be on the stream in about 20 seconds, because I think you're about 20 seconds behind.
That looks suspicious to me. That's like, that's not up yet. Yeah, but I know the picture. Yeah. I mean, that is bloody close, isn't it? I mean, Christ, it's just
the sick pair later appeared to have formed a disturbing friendship with the BBC star visiting the killer in jail and describing him as a mate after later trips to see him in Broadmoor Hospital.
I mean, what the hell do they chat about? Like,
Serial killing MOs by the side. Looks of it, doesn't it?
I mean, that's bloody suspicious, that photo, isn't it? I mean, bloody hell. Yeah. I mean, I suppose other people lived in that block as well, but I mean, why would you like take the body there? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I can imagine Savile knowing about it and just sort of creeping out and having a poke about, maybe, after he's done it or something.
So they got some, I can't figure out who this bloke was. It says details of all who were questioned in connection with the crimes are in storage, so we cannot confirm that Jimmy Savile was spoken to. Mr. Stainthorpe said the person who gave police the anonymous tip-off was aiming in the right direction. Child perverts soon become child killers, he added. The detective's shocking revelation came as the killer said that Savile regularly visited him in custody and the pair became friends.
Blimey, yeah.
How about this? Rubbishing claims that the late DJ abused around 300 victims over 6 decades. Sutcliffe said those making allegations were just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
It's a fucking having the Yorkshire Ripper vouch for you, I think that's about as low as it gets, isn't it?
That's just crazy, isn't it? Is he dead then, Peter Sutcliffe? He's not, is he?
I think he's still alive.
He's like
I did
bloated out, isn't he?
I did find that other article. Not long.
I bought that DVD of him. I think it's just called Peter, but it's really crap. I thought that would be like interesting, but
do you want 10
really
twisted
sort of
facts
crap.
about the Yorkshire Ripper?
Go on then, yeah.
When he was a grave digger. During his time as a grave digger, he would steal objects of value. This is what you were saying, isn't it? Would steal objects of value from the bodies he would bury, and some speculate he developed a necrophiliac tendencies from this. How much of an impact, if any, being around all those dead bodies all day had on young Peter is debatable. The Yorkshire Ripper would later report hearing the voice of God calling him from the grave, instructing him to kill harlots. The other thing as well, gravedigger, I mean, you're so far at the end of the process, you don't really have access to dead bodies.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah, you wouldn't. Oh, I suppose you could open the coffin though when no one's looking.
But you're literally right at the end of the process, aren't you?
Yeah, but I suppose they're still there. I suppose, isn't there? I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, if you worked in a morgue or something, if you worked in a morgue or something, I'd probably buy it more. I just think gravedigger's kind of weird. Aren't you literally just there and then you like shovel the stuff on immediately after the funeral? I don't think they just leave the grave open for hours after, do they?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. I'm not sure how easy it would be to open a coffin. Really,
yeah.
I don't know, because it's supposed to be like screwed down shut, I suppose. But...
yeah. So then there's the STD obsession. So the STD obsession was apparently he used to go to the local wax museum and he was fascinated by the effects of sexually transmitted disease on the... fucking hell, what kind of wax museum is that?
And that's a really famous one. I think there was one in Blackpool as well. Yeah, they had this STD.
There's that really shit. Yeah. If anyone's got 5 minutes, Google the really shit two swords in... where is it? Great Yarmouth. The Great Yarmouth two swords. Oh God, yeah. That's fucking hilarious, that, isn't it?
Yeah. There was a Peter Sutcliffe waxworks in there.
Was there? Who did it look like?
They're just like really crap. They're really bad like likenesses. That was just ridiculous. Everyone used to get pissed in there and like piss into the sort of exhibits and that. It's like there's a big problem because everyone was like on holiday, like pissed up, and they're going, "Oh, let's go and Madame Two Swords," and they'd go in there, be caught short, and they'd all be pissing like over Peter Sutcliffe's shoes and that, you know. It's just like men.
See, this is another thing here. So it's talking about his paranoid schizophrenia, which we've talked about. So, as we've all observed, Sutcliffe began hearing voices in his youth, but he wasn't that young when he was grave digging, though, was he? The average age of onset for schizophrenia in men is 18, with most being diagnosed in their 20s. So, possible.
I think you can get late onset schizophrenia. I think.
Do you think that's what it is? Because he hasn't got the circumstances to make a serial killer, so maybe it's the.
Yeah, maybe he weren't schizophrenic. He was just like a creepy guy, you know, just into that sort of stuff, sort of just like thinking about
maybe, it. Maybe, I mean, it could be as simple as like he's like the crossbow cannibal. He was quite an unremarkable person that wanted to do something, you know, that would make him famous. Yeah. You never know with these people, do you?
Well, a lot of people milked it, didn't they? Milked the Yorkshire Ripper. There was that band Sutcliffe Juggin that we were talking about. I mean, we should mention that next week because that wasn't really about that. Well, they did do stuff on the Ripper, but they did a song called King Ian and Queen Myra on their "We Spit on Their Graves" box set. I mean, that was a bit sort of like riding on the notoriety of it, but they didn't get famous from it. But there's that Barnsley FC Ripper chant, weren't there? I don't know if I should read it out. It's a bit.
Go on then.
Crap,
do the Ripper chant.
I don't know how you're supposed to say it. It's like reading all those like songs in the Lord of the Rings. You don't know what sort of song you're supposed to sing it to.
What the tune is.
Well, it's like she wore her red suspenders. She wore her red suspenders in the merry month of May. And why, I asked, did she wear the red suspenders? She wore the red suspenders so the Ripper would murder me. Murder me, murder me. He's the famous Yorkshire Ripper and he's going to murder me. And that's it. That's what they used to chant. Fucking hell.
There's another one, weren't there? You read 2 out, didn't you? You showed me 2. I can't remember what the other one was.
I think that's the same one. I think. Oh no, the other one was just there's only one Yorkshire Ripper. They used to just repeat that. The Leeds fans. They used to just there's only one Yorkshire Ripper. They used to just repeat it over and over, didn't they? It's quite strange football fans, isn't they?
That's what they used to be like. They're not half as entertaining now, are they?
No.
So Broadmoor. It was at Broadmoor. They're just so about the other people that are there. He was 30 years in Broadmoor. He's in prison now, isn't he? That's where he's been attacked a couple of times, hasn't he? He's blind in one eye. And then someone attacked him recently, said, I'll take the other fucking eye, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if I should, or I shouldn't say this, but someone I know who knows someone said that they knew the guy who did it, and he was in there for life, and someone offered him like 20 fags or something, or 40 fags to do it, and he had nothing to lose, so he just did it.
That reminds me of Harry Enfield, is when Wayne goes to prison. Do you remember that one? He said,
I didn't say that.
You buy everything with fags in here. He said it cost me 20 fags to buy 10 fags. Oh, it says in '69 he attempted to kill 2 people with a sock. I don't know who the second person was.
I don't know. I'm just thinking about Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy did that single "Killer on the Loose," didn't they? And it's supposedly done a pretty dodgy video for it. I'd like to see that. I don't think it's on YouTube. I looked for it the other day, but
try BitChute. It's probably on BitChute.
Killer on the Loose, Thin Lizzy, yeah, 1979.
Is that about Pete? Is it?
That's about. I know actually that's about Jack the Ripper. Oh, I got it wrong there. Now the Moors Murderers is the one. Like that's where all the weird stuff is. Like,
yeah, this 10 facts is getting worse now. Some of them are. They also think the Yorkshire Ripper may have been a copycat murderer.
Yeah, I tend to suspect that. Yeah, I think it was like a cult or a group doing it, like for their like that. What are they, the Friends of Hecate, all that Charles Walker stuff, like.
Yeah.
But a real group doing it, not something sort of like made up with rumours and that. But
I don't know. He looks like someone from what's Anton Oivey's cult. He looks like one of them.
Church of Satan.
He looks like a 70s Hammer Satanist, doesn't he?
Yeah. You got to have the old goatee, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, he looks evil, doesn't he?
I find the Moors murders interesting because there's, like I say, there's 2 of them, isn't there? It's like the perfect unholy couple, isn't it? Just like there's loads of weird shit with that. We'll have to do that next week. Yeah, that's just fucking odd.
Have we done all the woo on there?
I've got some like boring sort of like number stuff. Like he killed 22, didn't he? Peter Sutcliffe. What was it? He killed 22, and I've lost. That's going to take me ages to open it. I'll see if that'll open.
Your PDFs on a bit on the slow side, are they?
Yeah, my PDFs are taking ages to open.
You updated it lately?
I've got to update it. I keep getting that message to update, but I'm scared to update it because that's when things go wrong, isn't it? Sort of.
I don't know. Do you really count Harold Shipman? Someone's mentioned Harold Shipman in the cat. Do you really count him as a serial killer?
I'm not so sure if he wasn't part of this cult also, because his practice was in Hyde, wasn't it? Harold Shipman, and that's where Ian Brady and Myra Hindley lived, in Hyde, in where it's just outside Manchester, isn't it? I find that a bit odd.
I thought they were near Liverpool, were they, or did they move to Manchester?
I think they were always around that sort of area. But what a strange coincidence! Like Britain's greatest serial killing doctor lives in the same sort of little town as the Moors murderers.
And then Jimmy Savile and Jimmy Savile.
Well, they're all sort of around there. Yeah.
Funny how these things cluster, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't want to mention this stuff because it's weird. If there is some sort of weird cult like that on doing stuff, like, makes you wonder what about these other murders that go on. But that's it, yeah. Like I said before, that there's that's called the canonical five, isn't it? Of the Jack the Ripper, the 5 Jack the Ripper prostitute victims, and that Suffolk Ripper or the Ipswich Ripper, he also killed 5 prostitute victims.
Was Ted Bundy a small hat?
I'm not sure. Actually, he might. No, I think you're thinking of that Mark Chapman. He was, weren't he?
Yeah,
he definitely was. But
they're saying that Bundy might have been a blue.
Possible, but Yorkshire Ripper, he killed, or his victim count was 22, so it's 13 murdered and 9 injured, and he was also questioned and released 9 times by the police. And so you got the 22, the tarot trumps, and the 13 and the 9, and they're all magically significant numbers, and these numbers just keep coming up. And that weird guy we mentioned, that Stephen Griffith cannibal, I mean, he called himself Ven Pariah when he was online. And if someone calls themselves like a name, Ven for Pariah, VEN Pariah.
What does that equate to? What does that mean?
Well, it's like when someone calls themselves a name, you can consider it a magical name because they've deliberately chosen it. And if you put it through this ordinal cipher, that equals 94, which is the number value of innocent, guilty, microchip, and terror, which suggests he was possibly mind controlled by an implanted microchip to sort of spread terror. So he was both guilty and innocent of the crimes. I don't know. And 9 plus 4 equals 13. So you got the Ripper kill count again. And 9 plus 4 equals 13, which is the number of people the Yorkshire Ripper killed. And 9 minus 4 equals 5.
It was 16.
More have come up. Maybe I think he was actually charged with 13.
He was charged with 13, wasn't he?
Yeah. And 9 minus 4 is 5. So 9 minus 4 is 5, which is both Jack the Ripper's and the Suffolk Ripper's kill count again. And I should mention this next week, but the Moors murderers, they were both jailed for life on the 6th of May 1966, which has got 666 in it. You know, it's just like these numbers keep coming up. I don't think it's coincidence. And of course, like we were saying before, like he goes to jail and he gets loads of women writing to him saying they want to marry him. And
yeah, this is why we were going to dab on the weirdos, didn't we? Because that's like a massive phenomenon, isn't it? I bet even Brady had had groupies, didn't he? I should imagine. And,
yeah.
We'll talk about it more next week, but even Maura Hindley had groupies, didn't she? Only as were a bit higher class, weren't they?
Yeah, that's what freaks me out, because I thought like pedos, they're sort of like beaten up in prison, aren't they? But Maura Hindley goes to prison and everyone can't wait to rip her knickers off and be her girlfriend in there.
But I don't want to go in too much to it, but it makes me wonder whether she was the one, not Brady.
Yeah. Well, I think I was a bit 50-50 with them, I think. Because, I mean, Brady was pretty hardcore, but I think he needed her to sort of bounce stuff off, and I think she needed him and probably egged him on. And yeah.
So back to Earth. West Yorkshire took a proper panning for this, didn't they?
Yeah, that was well, they deserved it, really. I mean, they should have got on, but.
Oh, do you know anything about this? In response to police reaction to the murders, Leeds revolutionary feminist group organised a number of Reclaim the Night marches.
I remember seeing that on the news, actually. Yeah, God, I'm so old. I remember seeing that on the news, yeah. They were getting pretty bolshy about it, yeah. I suppose sort of understandably, but they took it. They were like super glue and pornography shops, locks shut and stuff.
What?
And, you know,
I blamed porn.
They banned that film, didn't they? they banned some stupid film that was on the cinema at the time, like it was about murdering women or something. Yeah.
What's this one then? In 1988, the mother of Sutcliffe's last victim, Jacqueline Hill, during action for damages on behalf of her daughter's estate, argued in the High Court that the police had failed to use reasonable care in apprehending the murder of her daughter in the Hill versus Chief Constable of West Yorkshire. The House of Lords held that the Chief Constable of West Yorkshire did not owe a duty of care to the victim due to lack of proximity, therefore failing on the second limb of the Caparo test.
Yeah, close ranks, didn't they? Yeah, they want to.
Well, of course they do.
They want to. They're doing it now, aren't they? With this like pedo stuff in the House of Lords, aren't they?
Oh, it's all over it, and none of it happened, didn't it?
Yeah, whatever happened to this big inquiry?
Nick's a liar. Nick's a liar. That's it. It's all done now. That's sorted.
Yeah, it's got it.
Wipe her hands. Job done. That's what it is, isn't it?
It's so obvious, isn't it?
Did you see the panorama when they I'll use scare quotes and say debunked it? Basically, what they did was they concentrated on and debunked the Dolphin Square. Is Dolphins? Oh, the Elm guest house was where it all happened, weren't it?
Yeah, and Dolphin Square, I think. But
what the BBC did was they thoroughly debunked Dolphin Square and never mentioned Elm Guest House at all, which makes me think that maybe nothing happened at Dolphin Square. And it all happened at the Elm Guest House because they definitely didn't want to mention the Elm Guest House.
Nah, there was like really weird stuff going on there. Apparently, there was like all sorts of like both sides of the political spectrum were going there. And yeah, I bet there's loads of blackmail.
Here's a question for you then. So the Ripper did his murdering between 69 and 81 when he got caught. Have a guess when the Home Office released the Byford report, which was the report into it.
Don't know.
1st of June 2006. For fuck's sake. Timely.
They want everyone everyone involved to like have died out.
Dead before they release it.
God.
Well, that's what they did with the VIP, didn't they? Because they let Jana die and they let Leon Britton die, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I think Ted was well dead, weren't he, by then? Ted Heath.
And Lord Mountbatten as well. I think he died a bit before, didn't he? But
do you think Mountbatten?
I know he was blown up by the IRA, weren't he?
Yeah. I
think. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of like really crap journalism about it, but I don't know. I like that Angerphone blog, but that's quite good. That sort of piece of stuff together. But yeah, I think pretty much they're all into it, really. You know, anyone at a certain level just does it. I think maybe they do it a couple of times and get blackmailed.
Who's that famous bloke? I can never remember his name.
I think they all do it.
He said, as long as I don't get caught in bed with a dead girl or a live boy, I'm pretty much home free. Or something. He said.
Yeah, I've heard that. I can't remember who it is. Yeah, that's like when Roman Polanski got caught for like raping that underage girl. He just said like, "Well, what's the big problem? I've had sex with girls younger than that, and no one said anything." That's just what they do, isn't it?
Oh, the C also on Wikipedia got Gordon Cummins, who was the Blackout Ripper. And Anthony Hardy, who was the Camden Ripper.
Oh, I ain't heard of that. Let me write that down, was it? What's that, Camden Ripper?
The Camden Ripper and the Blackout Ripper.
Oh, I'll have to add that
Gordon
to my
Frederick
notes.
Cummins.
Blackout Ripper.
Over a 6-day period in February 1942. And Anthony John Hardy is the English serial killer known as the Camden Ripper.
Yeah, because there was the Torso Ripper
but this
as
one,
well.
he was sentenced to 3 life terms for 3 murders, but he may have killed 9. That number again, 9 people.
Satan number, yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the time of the Jack the Ripper murders, there was also the Torso murders. Like there was loads of torsos being found in the Thames, and so there was something odd going on there. So, you know, about 5 or 6 torsos were found when Jack the Ripper was doing his stuff. So I don't know what's going on
in the
there.
Thames is not an old thing, is it? It still goes.
The Thames
still goes on till very recently, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that black kid was found. The torso of that black kid.
I think isn't there another torso that's been found since then as well?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Pretty morbid, this one. We got 30 people listening to the morbid stream.
Well, the Thames is the satanic river, isn't it? Because that really snakes like a satanic snake, doesn't it? That's why they chuck the bodies in there, I think.
I used to have there used to be the deputy head at my old school when I was a kid. She had a varicose vein that looked like the Thames.
Yeah. She might have been part of the cult. She's the witch queen.
Yeah, the witch queen. She was a bit of a fucking witch queen, I'll give you that much.
Yeah, God. That's why I hated school. Like, I had such awful teachers. Though, like, really weird. But weirdly enough, like in, what was it? No, it's in secondary school. My English teacher was called Mr. English. And he was really cool. Like, he must have like found his perfect job because he's called Mr. English. And he was the English teacher. Like, that's pretty
Mr. Stone the Mason.
Is it? He was the best one.
So, are we about done? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done up with the Yorkshire Ripper. Yeah, the Moors murder. I'm more into I like the Yorkshire. Well, I don't like him, but it's a fascinating case. But the Moors murderers, that's the one where all the weird stuff goes on.
So here we go. That's the first part of our serial killers. We come down to earth, but we still found you some woo woo.
Yeah, there'll be more next week. I guarantee that.
So next week we are going to be doing the Moors murderers. You putting any more stuff up on your channel, Zero? You've been putting videos?
Nah, I keep meaning to, but I just haven't got the time to do it. But I'm going to do a long video about my alien abduction experiences, but I want to get it right because I don't want to be just another twat like talking about aliens on YouTube.
You don't want to be just another nutter.
Because I got some good stuff to say that I don't think anyone else has said. Like, so yeah, I got to get it right though.
Well, that's what we try to be. Here. We try to be the ones saying things that no one else is saying.
I can briefly mention that when we used to play football at this recreation ground, which was where that man in black chased me once, and we were playing football once. And suddenly I had that as well known when like paranormal experiences.
Hold on a second. There was that Welsh serial killer. They called him the Man in Black. Do you remember the one that owned the cinema? The
cinema chain, yeah. That was close to here, yeah. He's a bit nasty, yeah. We were playing football once on this recreation ground, and suddenly the atmosphere changed, and that's why I know something weird's going to happen. I carried on playing football, and then suddenly my mouth felt puffy. You know, my mouth sort of puffy, and I sort of put my tongue behind my teeth, and there was like this black, like an inch long black lozenge of like sort of like a rounded rectangular black lozenge that was lodged in my cheek. But I don't know how it got there. And I looked at it in my hand, and I felt really weird. And then that sort of was gone, or I lost it. And anyway, that's all part of my alien abduction thing. But that makes sense when you hear the whole sort of thing like connected together. But yeah. I don't know whether it was aliens, but I seem to suspect it must have been. I don't know. I might just be like mad.
It depends if you believe in the unified theory. Yeah. It's all one thing. Whether it be demons or aliens or fairies.
If they weren't,
might be fairies. Might be fairies.
Yeah. Well, if it weren't something like that, they were doing a bloody good impression of something like that, demons or aliens or whatever. But so yeah, people can look forward to that maybe, or 5 people, or 4 people maybe. I don't know. I'm going to do it anyway. But.
Find Zero's channel and you'll find stuff like that, and you'll enjoy it.
There's a couple of weird vids up there, yeah.
Right, so I'm back with Land of Grub and Glory on Tuesday night.